Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, the breaking news as we come on, flame shooting from Iran's natural gas field, one of the largest in the world. Oil now nearing $110 a barrel. Gas prices in the U.S. now up 94 cents since the start of the war. Israel targeting that massive gas field in Iran tonight. Iran now responding with a deadly new wave of attacks across the Middle East. The Iranian regime warning the Saudis, Qatar, and the UAE to evacuate their energy facilities. We'll go live to James Longman in the region. Tonight, just in here, the president attending dignified transfer of 6 more American service members killed. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill tonight, the director of national intelligence grilled just 24 hours after a top intelligence official resigned, claiming there was no imminent threat from Iran. He is asked, was there a threat? And how she answers. Also tonight, the heated moments during the Senate confirmation hearing for the president's pick to replace Kristi Noem to run Homeland Security. The fiery moments right here as Senator Mark Wayne Mullen is questioned by lawmakers on both sides. Tonight, we're learning of a scare at a U.S. military base. Possible improvised explosive device. Pierre Thomas is standing by. Tonight, the travel chaos of this country, day 33 now of this partial government shutdown. Thousands of TSA officers going without pay, and now many not showing up to work, forced to find other ways to support their families. The scenes from JFK to Atlanta to Houston. Tonight, the disturbing allegations of sex abuse emerging against the late civil rights icon Cesar Chavez, the woman who was at his side for decades, coming forward. Tonight, the urgent search underway for a missing American college student disappearing on spring break. The horrific and deadly accident at a popular ski resort, the gondola tumbling down the mountain. The major break in a case that made national headlines, the realtor murdered while conducting an open house. Tonight, the arrest. The police chase, officers jumping onto paddle boards to go after a suspect. And tonight, right here, the new list is just out. The 10 most popular dog breeds in the U.S., and we'll go down the list. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
And welcome to Hannity. We start tonight with a Fox News alert. Yet another high-ranking official from Iran's rogue regime tonight, again dead. This time, the top intel chief was taken out. We have the details coming up and the latest developments from the Middle East. General Keane will join us tonight. Also, we'll cover a major crisis brewing right here at home. Massive lines at airports, FEMA without funding, TSA, the Coast Guard, Secret Service, other critical security officials that are working for over a month without pay, all in the middle of a conflict with the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism. Thank you to the Democratic
nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
Also ahead, thousands of students in Kent begin receiving meningitis vaccines as a second university confirms it's affected by the outbreak. Plus, how fly tippers could soon be forced to clean up their mess. Iran tonight appears to be carrying out its threats to retaliate over the war in the Middle East. There have been explosions in Qatar, at the largest liquefied natural gas export facility in the world. There have also been ballistic missile attacks on the Saudi capital of Riyadh. They come after Iran promised to respond to this attack, reportedly carried out by Israel on the South Pars natural gas field, the largest in the world, which is Iranian territory. Tonight, the escalating focus on energy facilities has prompted another surge in global oil prices. Our international affairs editor Dominic Waghorn is the only British broadcaster in Tehran, and he told us it's a major escalation.
A real concern that this war could escalate even further and could threaten the energy infrastructure here in a more serious way. And I think tonight we have seen a major escalation. It seems to have begun with an Israeli attack on the Pars gas field in the south of the country here in Iran. And according to reporting out of Washington, the Israelis have told the Americans that they have told the Iranians, we will continue destroying your gas facilities, your gas field, if you don't open up the Strait of Hormuz. And that argument seems to have carried sway with the White House, and this seems to have happened with the Americans' blessing. So effectively, the Israelis have said to the Americans, we think we can open up that strait, which obviously has been blocked since the start of the war, with disastrous impacts on the price of oil and economic ramifications around the world, by saying to the Iranians that we're going to destroy their gas field. If it
On this Wednesday night, violent thwarted. The teenagers accused of plotting attacks on schools in two.
Received information that the youth was already on the bus, so we have pulled the bus over.
How Canadian police were tipped off by the FBI and Interpol. Airstrikes targeting energy infrastructure in the Middle East. The escalating tensions as Israel assassinates the head of Iran's intelligence. New charges in this deadly fire at a Montreal building filled with illegal Airbnbs, what the owner is accused of. Plus, shine bright like a diamond. Venezuela's jubilation after defeating the U.S. to nab an historic baseball victory.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Police in Nova Scotia say they've stopped potentially violent attacks at two schools in different parts of the country. Authorities say two teenagers were arrested after their online conversations were intercepted by the FBI and Interpol. It's alleged they were discussing staging simultaneous attacks on a high school in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, and a collegiate thousands of kilometers away in a small town near Brandon, Manitoba. Police don't believe the attacks were imminent.
For the most reliable and up-to-date information.
Today, the Prime Minister urges Australians not to panic buy fuel, warning things could get worse if the Middle East war drags on.
The longer the conflict in the Middle East goes, the more significant the impact will be for global supply chains, fuel prices and the wider economy.
The ACCC investigating allegations of anti-competitive conduct by major fuel suppliers in regional and rural Australia. A major escalation in the Middle East conflict, with Qatar's main gas facility struck by Iran hours after Israel attacked a major Iranian gas field. Tropical cyclone Narelle now a Category 5 as it bears down on far north Queensland, packing wind gusts of 285 kilometres per hour. And the Matildas to face Japan in Sunday's Asian Cup final showdown. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Joanna Nicholson. The Prime Minister has called for people to stop panic buying fuel, saying things may get much worse as the crisis in the Middle East war drags on. Speaking after a meeting of the National Cabinet in Hobart, Anthony Albanese confirmed the appointment of a national fuel
Certificate, Mason Jewelry.
This is Asia Now.
It's 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 in New Delhi, and 10 o'clock in Jakarta. Good morning. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, President Donald Trump says the U.S. had no prior knowledge of Israel's strike on Iran's largest gas field. He warns Tehran after missiles hit Qatar's LNG facility that any further move will trigger a U.S. response. Japanese Prime Minister Sane Takaichi braces for tough talks with Donald Trump in Washington over security in the Strait of Hormuz. Her trip meant to focus on economic ties, but could be overshadowed by the war in Iran. Thailand's new parliament widely expected to re-elect Anutin Chanvirakul as Prime Minister in a vote following his party's decisive election win last month. And survivors of last November's devastating fire in Hong Kong hoping for answers. An independent investigation committee begins public hearings into the tragedy, which killed 168 people and displaced nearly 5,000 residents. President Donald Trump says the U.S. was not involved in the attack on Iran's South Pars oil field. The strike marked the first time Tehran's liquefied natural gas infrastructure was hit during the war. It has triggered a wave of Iranian.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Welcome back to Night Watch here on France 24. Our main headlines for you this hour. Qatar says more Iranian missile strikes have hit its main natural gas plants, causing fires and more damage. A day after initial strikes, US President Donald Trump threatened to hit Tehran's South Pars gas field harder than ever before if it continues to target Qatar's Ras Laffan site. 20 airstrikes continue on Lebanon with multiple attacks in central Beirut. It comes amid growing calls for an end to the conflict between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah. Hundreds of people have been killed and more than 1 million displaced since fighting broke out between the two. And the Iranian women's football team returns home after the Asian Cup in Australia. Among them, 5 players who reversed their asylum application. 7 squad members initially requested asylum amid concerns for their safety after they refused to sing the national anthem before a match. The other 2 applicants remain in Australia.
This is DW News and these are our top stories. Qatar has ordered Iran's military and security attachés to leave the country within 24 hours, following missile strikes on a major Qatari gas hub. Doha declared the diplomats persona non grata, accusing Iran of what it called repeated attacks, the latest targeting the heart of Qatar's energy sector. Iran said the attack was in retaliation for an attack on its own natural gas infrastructure, reportedly by Israel. Thousands rallied in Istanbul on Wednesday for jailed Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, marking a year since President Tayyip Erdogan's main rival was detained on corruption charges. Crowds outside City Hall waved Turkish flags and opposition banners. The event, organized by İmamoğlu's Republican People's Party, comes amid what the party calls an unprecedented judicial crackdown dating to 2024. The government denies any political interference. The first shipment of international aid for crisis-hit Cuba has arrived. 5 tons of medical supplies delivered late Wednesday, according to official sources. A delegation of about 100 European activists landed at Havana's airport, bringing cargo that authorities say will be distributed to hospitals across the country.
More than one.
Africa News. The news.
Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla welcomed President Bola Tinubu and his wife to Windsor Castle on Wednesday during the first state visit by a Nigerian leader in nearly 40 years. At the castle entrance, Charles and Tinubu inspected a guard of honour in traditional bearskin hats. The 2 countries are major partners in trade, aid and defence. The UK is also home to more than 250,000 people born in Nigeria. London welcomed the visit as historic and announced that Nigerian companies are expanding operations and creating hundreds of jobs in Britain. Nigeria says the visit signals a renewed chapter and reflects a shared commitment to advancing trade and strengthening diplomatic ties. Tinubu is due to meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Thursday. First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, a Christian pastor, is set to preach at Lambeth Palace, the seat of the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Good morning.
The dispute between Rwanda and Britain over a scrapped refugee resettlement program on Wednesday reached the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. Kigali told a panel of international judges that London is $115 million in arrears, saying Britain torpedoed the deal without any notice.
The new Prime Minister declared the Rwanda scheme to be dead and buried on his first full day in office. The United Kingdom did not do Rwanda a courtesy of informing it in advance. Instead, Rwanda was left to read about these developments in the media. The United Kingdom then sought to walk away from its legal obligations.
Under the 2022 deal, asylum seekers arriving in Britain would be sent to Rwanda for processing, and London would cover the cost. The UK says the two countries agreed to end the agreement when Keir Starmer took office in 2024.
Payments were due in April 2025 and 2026, £50 million each, so a total of £100 million. And they said in November 2024 that both countries agreed to forego any future payments on the expectation that...
Thank you for watching. I'm Shakil 5858. I hope you will come again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.